What's the tea? Welcome everyone to Trust and Trade, your weekly glimpse into hot topics in the world of antitrust and consumer protection.
So I'm Annie Ugurlayan, co-chair of the Advertising Disputes and Litigation Committee of the section of Antitrust Law. And I am very pleased to do this very first podcast I've ever done with Nguyen, Vu, who is Associate General Counsel of Bolt. And we are going to be taking a deep dive into cryptocurrency, truly one of the hot topics in law and just society in general. And so I'm delighted to have Nguyen with us today. And so I thought I would start off by asking him about a little bit about your background before you came to Bolt and what your role is at Bolt.
Sure. So first, thanks for having me on, Annie. I'm really excited to do this. But first, I have to launch into the typical disclaimers that this is not legal advice. These views and opinions are my own and do not represent those of my employer, Bolt, as you mentioned. So I am the Associate General Counsel at Bolt. It's a Series E fintech startup based out of the Bay Area. And it provides an Amazon-like one-click checkout solution for merchants of all sizes, really. But unlike other one-click checkout providers out there, Bolt provides a full checkout operating system for merchants and includes services like payments, of course, authentication, fraud. And so it does all of this rather than being simply just another payment button that merchants tend to leverage. Just over a month ago, and it's relevant to this podcast, just over a month ago, we entered into an agreement to acquire a crypto company called Wire. And Wire basically enables users to buy and sell cryptocurrency. And it is also a crypto API solutions provider that allows other crypto developers to leverage Wire's APIs to build out their own crypto products. It was announced as the largest non-SPAC crypto acquisition to date. So a lot of exciting times ahead for the company. And as for me, I support Bolt's payments and financial products initiatives. Prior to joining Bolt, I had in-house roles at Meta and at Apple, supporting their payments products and payments initiatives for both consumer and enterprise customers.
Excellent. So what is cryptocurrency? Because I think there is, it's one of the many topics like, NFTs and so on that people have sort of have a general idea, but there is a lot of murkiness and I guess a lack of understanding of sort of the specifics. So if you can give us just an idea of what we're talking about here, that would be great.
Yes, of course. Great starting point. So to understand what cryptocurrency is, I think we need to level set on a general understanding of both cryptocurrency and the underlying blockchain technology. So think of cryptocurrency as just a form of currency that exists digitally and uses cryptography to secure transactions. Now, cryptography is this mathematical and computational way of just encrypting and decrypting data. Just think about it that way. But also to understand cryptocurrency, it's also important to start with the reality that there is nothing tangible behind most crypto assets out there. Now, this is in contrast to traditional government-backed currencies, also called fiat currencies. Think US dollar, think the euro. There's no government or central bank ready to make good on the value represented by any cryptocurrency. So, most cryptocurrencies, but really, to be blunt, a crypto asset is nothing more than just a string of code. It's a string of ones and zeros that's recorded on a blockchain. And once a cryptocurrency is developed, its value is really just set by the open market, whatever the open market will bear. And that's a reason why you tend to see a lot of volatility, more volatility in the cryptocurrency world than you do in the fiat world. So And so again, compared to the fiat world, and that's where a lot of this risk comes in, is that stability. And that's because obviously in the fiat world, central banks try to ensure this financial stability through its monetary policies. So, but this might change the more use of cryptocurrencies. The more the use of cryptocurrency becomes mainstream, I think this might change in the future. So as I mentioned, a crypto asset is nothing more than a string of ones and zeros recorded on a blockchain. So for cryptocurrencies to make sense, you have to understand what blockchain is. So you can think about it this way. In essence, a blockchain is just a digital record. You'll often hear people refer to it as a digital ledger, digital distributed ledger. So this is a digital record of transactions is maintained across several computers that are linked together in a network. Again, it's essentially a public database of digital information. So transactions that take place on the network's digital ledger are time-stamped, they're validated, and then aggregated together in blocks. And new blocks are added to the chain of data only after the computers on the network have checked the accuracy of the transactions included in each block. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes than that, but that's a general high-level understanding of what blockchains are. So the Bitcoin blockchain is essentially just an enormous shared encrypted list of all addresses that hold Bitcoin balances. And because this list is shared, it's referred to as a digital distributed ledger technology. Again, every new block that's added to the chain represents the latest update to Bitcoin account balances. I think with blockchain, it's also worth noting that while blockchain technology was originally developed for Bitcoin, the two aren't the same. Blockchain technology in and of itself has a host of powerful applications unrelated to Bitcoin or even cryptocurrency at large. So if a blockchain is really just a ledger, again, simply a record of transactions, then you can start to think about how blockchain technology can be used to store any number of data points, again, unrelated to currency. Votes in an election, for example, product inventories, deeds to homes. And this is the type of stuff that actually excites me about the space, what both crypto and digital ledger technology can do moving forward. I think when people tend to hear crypto, they think about buying it, they think about selling it. What's the price of Bitcoin or Dogecoin, or insert the hottest new coin. Where is that price going? Right, to the moon, as they say. But to me, that's among the least interesting part about crypto. I think for me, it's what this blockchain technology can unlock. And so actually this blockchain, a lot of states have been looking into, and begun exploring how blockchain technology can facilitate various secure methods of interacting with state governments. Again, perhaps we might see blockchain-based voting in the future, but it's certainly for storing of government records and data.
It's really helpful. So in terms of, I guess how it's traded, I mean, how do you even acquire it, right? Like, how do you get these assets, and then how are they sort of exchanged, if you will?
Sure. There are any number of exchanges out there where you can go and purchase cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin ATMs. So it's actually quite simple. You can register with any of these exchanges. Coinbase is among the more popular ones, and again, you link your bank account or link some sort of method of funding, and then you can go right in and start purchasing either whole cryptocurrencies, fractions of cryptocurrencies, and the like. So it's quite straightforward to start accumulating crypto assets.
And you mentioned earlier, in terms of it's not the same as, fiat currency in terms of it, not being secured. Do you see, I mean, I guess is there enough awareness in the marketplace about that kind of volatility? And sort of, and this kind of is jumping on ahead, but there's obviously, because it is so volatile, that there is talk about potentially regulating it. But what is your sense of sort of the understanding about the fact that the lack of awareness, I guess, potentially about its volatility?
Of course, as I'm in this space, I understand the volatility, but I also like to think, would my parents understand the volatility? And it's funny, they do call me and ask me about crypto and how they can get into crypto and things like that. So I don't know, but I don't know if there is an awareness. I think most of the platforms out there do a good job of explaining, the potential risks in cryptocurrencies, but also, especially what's going on in the markets, in the regulated markets, we're experiencing a lot of volatility in that space as well. So yes, there probably could be more work to be done, and it certainly attracted the attention of regulators. Sort of the risky nature, the potential risky nature of cryptocurrencies, and the need to educate the general public on those risks.
Yeah, no, that's great. So shifting gears in terms of in-house counsel, right? You are in-house counsel for Bold, but obviously in-house counsel are very interested in cryptocurrency because it is being used more and more, and so it's going to affect sort of their processes and how consumers are purchasing goods and so on. So why should they care about crypto, and what exactly is it that they should be aware of specifically?
Sure. So even if you're not working at a crypto company or a fintech or even a financial services institution, I think if you're an in-house counsel, what I've seen is that an increasing number of companies are using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies, for that matter, for a whole host of investment, operational, and transactional purposes. And of course, there are the numerous retailers out there and other merchants accepting Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies as a form of payment for their goods. I think Gucci announced last week that they will start accepting cryptocurrencies for purchase of Gucci products. There's a famous story about an early Bitcoin adopter back in 2010 who paid for 2 Papa John's pizzas using 10,000 Bitcoins. So back then that was around, I think, $40. Today, I haven't checked the valuation today, but it'd be, over $300 million of Bitcoin for those 2 pizzas. So anyway, as an aside. So in-house counsel should care about crypto because, again, more and more companies are getting into this space. And so, for example, I think blockchain technologies can be used to enable like real-time and accurate revenue sharing between companies and its partners. This was actually an issue I worked on at one of my former companies, where we entered into a rev share agreement with a partner where we would receive a commission payment every time a particular transaction occurred. And at scale, these commissionable payments, these commissionable transactions were happening, thousands of times a day. And we would get these rev share payments once a month. And so sort of reconciling the internal records among both companies was a massive and very resource intensive endeavor. And so moving something like this to a blockchain would allow for that accuracy in these types of arrangements, while also providing, I think, the transparency, and which would help, with this back office reconciliation. So I think more and more companies will return to things like this. I think one really interesting example of a non-fintech company that you might not think of to be sort of on the bleeding edge of using blockchain technology is Kodak. So back in 2018, they launched this beta test of a blockchain platform they called Kodak One, which was essentially an encrypted digital ledger of copyright ownership, right? It's a blockchain. there, photographers can register both new and old photos with Kodak One and then license it on the platform. And then the system enabled these photographers to get paid with these instant and secure payments for each photo sold. So it's, again, a lot of companies are getting this space, and even the legal functions be impacted, like our own functions. Blockchain could potentially bring the end to the use of escrow accounts, where law firms are holding onto the money until these specified conditions are met, right? This could all be sort of moved over to blockchain. From a sort of corporate perspective, I've also seen a lot of corporate treasury departments getting into crypto. They're using cryptocurrencies for real-time and secure money transfers to help strengthen their own, sort of the capital of the company. It can serve as an alternative to holding cash, right? So again, a lot of treasurers are getting interested in this space, and based on what I've read recently, sort of in preparing for this podcast, I see apparently there are at least 27 publicly traded companies that hold Bitcoin. And one of the largest is a non-fintech, non-crypto company called MicroStrategy, based out of Northern Virginia. And they hold over 4 billion in Bitcoin, which is about 25% of the company's market cap. So again, even if you're not in this space, for a company that's directly in the space, as in-house counsel, you might come across it in either blockchain or crypto in any number of ways.
That's fascinating. And in terms of the blockchain itself, I mean, is it sort of, is it, and you might have mentioned this, is it encrypted? I mean, how safe is it, right? I mean, I'm sort of thinking that hackers, right, might be able to, gain access. Are there safeguards to make sure that, information is secure?
And there are, and various blockchains employ different measures of securing and safeguarding their data. I think one of the more popular ones is what's called proof of work, which essentially, so as I mentioned earlier, it's all the different computers on a blockchain network had to verify the accuracy of new data before they put it onto the blockchain. And so that lends itself to adding more security. And what they say is immutable, which means once you do it, you can't change it. Right. Once it's added, you can't go back and change it. So yeah. So the idea is that now, does that mean hackers won't figure out a way? Perhaps. And I'm sure. I think we're seeing some sort of hackers and sort of scams going on in this space. But yeah, that it's meant to be a lot more secure than sort of current methods.
Excellent. Well, since this is a podcast for the Advertising Disputes and Litigation Committee of the ABA section of Antitrust Law, can you touch on what are the marketing risks for crypto?
Yeah, definitely. I read that 2022 is the year for crypto advertising. I mean, you can just look at, I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl, but there were a number of crypto-related ads that appeared during the Super Bowl.
We saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, pretty neat, right? But it is worth noting, and I think this gets to one of your earlier questions. It is worth noting that those Super Bowl ads did catch the attention of some lawmakers, right? I think the Senate Banking Committee chairman sort of blasted the crypto companies that advertise for not including the proper warnings or disclosures about the risks involved in investing in crypto assets. I think he was probably hoping for more some sort of disclosure about potential price swings in cryptocurrency values, or that perhaps the crypto market isn't as regulated as other more traditional investment or asset classes. But look, like anything else, advertisers always need to be mindful of the claims that they make in ads, right? That applies. Now, this is foundational, and it spans across all industries. For crypto in particular, again, I've seen advertisements that tend to make claims that take the form of financial performance and forecasted future earnings, or how safe a crypto product or investment is. And there's actually a good recent real world example of this that occurred right around the time of the Super Bowl. So the SEC entered into a settlement agreement with a crypto company called BlockFi, who, among other products, they offered what's called a crypto yield earning product. So a crypto yield product essentially allows users, like folks like you and I, to deposit their crypto with a company like BlockFi, and so the company would then promise the retail end users a yield. It's like a rate of return, 10% yield based on your deposits. And this yield is generated by the company then lending out all of the deposited crypto it's received out to others, usually larger institutions. So this is similar to how fiat currency or securities lendings work. So the SEC alleged, among other things, that BlockFi made material representations about this crypto yield product on its website. And some of the statements that the SEC pointed to was that BlockFi was making statements that these loans were over collateralized. And so without getting too far off topic, over collateralization is what happens when over collateralization would require those institutions that BlockFi was lending its crypto deposits out to provide a level of collateral that's worth more than enough to cover the potential losses. So if the loan was for 10 million, it would be collateralized at 15 million or 20 million. So but without admitting any wrongdoing, BlockFi settled with the SEC for about $100 million. And there were a lot more to the SEC allegations than just the misrepresentation on BlockFi's website, but it is something that the SEC did point out. And again, these crypto products have been gaining a lot of traction. And as I mentioned, I think corporate treasury departments are also looking at them as a way to enhance companies' balance sheets. So this is it's definitely an area of interest for the SEC and one sort of keep your eye on.
Excellent. So you mentioned the SEC and as they're one of the primary regulators of crypto, but do you see the FTC getting involved in this area, and what role do you think that they have to play?
Oh, sure. You're right. While the FTC has largely taken a back seat to the other financial regulators when it comes to crypto, President Biden issued a cryptocurrency executive order just in March that calls for a coordinated interagency approach to the regulation of crypto. So, and a significant part of this focuses on both the FTC and the CFPB and potential oversight of crypto activities that don't involve a security or function as a commodity derivative. So with this executive order, I think the Biden administration is attempting to shift the focus on crypto to consumer protection, naming in this executive order as the first principal policy objective. So specifically, the order directs the heads of the FTC and the CFPB, among many other agencies, to submit a report on the implications of developments and the adoption of digital assets. So it's I think the FTC's role is going to grow in this space. And I think of particular relevance to the FTC and CFPB, the order encourages the agencies to consider what effects the growth of digital assets could have on competition policy, things like how privacy and consumer protection measures can serve these digital assets users. So it's a lot more than just consumer protection, I guess specifically, and so it's drafted a little bit more broad than that. So I think it's going to be interesting. And of course, the FTC has also issued consumer alerts on FTC scams. And I think they've brought enforcement actions against crypto scammers. I think they've actually just released a consumer alert back in January.
Right.
about these crypto scammers and getting folks to show up to Bitcoin ATMs and transferring money. We've seen scams like this, right? It takes the form of store gift cards or iTunes gift cards, right? So now it's just moving into the crypto space.
So with the few minutes that we have left, what advice would you have for in-house counsel who are they're not in the space specifically, but they're this is obviously becoming more top of mind. How can their legal departments, marketing departments, and so on, what are the things that they should keep in mind as they are trying to look at either crypto usage or even claims that are being made? Is there sort of a checklist, if you will, that you might want to suggest that companies adopt or keep in mind when they are considering sort of the underlying issues relating to crypto?
Sure. I think first, to sort of understand that there are risks in this space, understand that as of today, it's not as regulated as some of the more traditional asset classes out there. And so keeping that in mind, also understand that this space changes all the time. So staying educated on the issues at hand, and that are many ways to sort of stay on top of crypto issues. There's a lot of great resources out there. Well, then there's a lot of great podcasts, including this one, and just a lot of great resources out there. Just to really stay on top of the developments. But like I said earlier, a lot of the principles, especially when it comes to things like advertising and making claims, it's foundational. These just obviously make accurate claims and provide proper disclosures, where needed. So those are foundational, and those aren't going to change depending on cryptocurrency or any industry for that matter.
Well, excellent. Nguyen, I really thank you for taking time to unpack this sort of emerging area and one that I think that there's a lot of there's sort of minimal understanding, but I think all lawyers want to learn more. And I think having this kind of podcast and others will be really helpful for attorneys to just better understand what we're talking about, what the risks are, and what they should be on the lookout for. So I really thank you for taking us through this, Wild West, new frontier, in financial payments and otherwise, and for anyone who has questions about advertising disputes and litigation committee, they can reach out to me. I can be reached at Ugurlayan, Ugurlayan at bbbnp.org. Happy to talk about the committee and what we do, but this will be one of many podcasts I hope we do on other topics. But thank you again, Nguyen, for your time and for sharing your expertise.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Trust and Trade, brought to you as always by the Antitrust Law Section of the American Bar Association. Now you know that's the T.